Hi, so I'm talking with our awesome composer, Kirsten Baum, and Kirsten came in when we were already about 75% locked on our edit. We still had the ant scenes to do because we used filler ants for a while just to have a rough edit of those scenes, and then we got Dee and Jenny on board. But I think that's not always the case for you.
Right, it can vary when I come in on a project. It can vary. I could come in before there's a rough. In the case I'm working on right now, I was asked to create music so that they could cut to the music. And so that's kind of, it's a different case than what we did.
And I will say, I'll go ahead and throw myself under the bus a little bit here and tell you, when we got to the music part, I was scared. I don't have any musical abilities. I don't know rhythm, I don't feel the rhythm, I don't hear a beat, like I was really kind of, and I kept using the word, I kept telling Kristen, like, oh, I want it to be kind of plinky.
Right.
Plinky. And here's a classically trained pianist and Sundance fellow, and I was like, like dee-dee-dee. You're like, I don't really know what that means, but what was really helpful for me is you said, just talk to me as if I'm an actor. Talk to me in intention and emotion, and I think that's kind of when we sort of found like our own language.
So the important thing when a director and a composer first start working together is to find a common language, and that just means defining the words like plinky and saying, so what does that mean for you? So maybe it means something that's like, I want quirky, you know, and I don't really know what that means in a musical term, and I feel like I'm kind of working to find a musical language. And as a composer, I have the ability to speak in emotional languages and to talk about the intentions of the scene, and to develop that common language is the thing that's really necessary to be able to create the music for the movie.
And I know when we were finding like just the tone of the film, the kind of the two words that we kept going back to as our Nikki Kristen language. They were quirky and melancholy.
Right.
And really trying to find the balance. And I know for us the hardest part was the opening credits.
Right.
The title sequence. You started composing the other stuff first, or we revisited it,
yes.
Right?
Yeah, it was kind of an ongoing challenge. The opening credits, we're going back and forth between whether we should stay completely with Margaret's emotions or whether we should kind of pull back and paint a bigger picture of the overall entire story. We spent a lot of time really working that to get exactly where we want it to be.
You were saying, and I like the word, like inviting the audience to come and join our world, but it was also very important for me, because we don't see Margaret before Matthew leaves her, that these rituals, the compulsions that she's having to do, especially after waking up, holding his pillow and feeling that, are driven by pain or grief. She's not aware of it, but this is not like a fun thing. So we didn't want to, I remember saying, I didn't want it to be like, here we are and birds are chirping and we're going around and cleaning and adjusting and it's a,
and it's just a happy day and it's,
So it was really finding that balance, and I love the openings. So thank you.
Thank you. One of the other things that we wanted to do was really honor the story in finding the tone for it, and we wanted it to honor the sort of stillness of the piece and the intimacy. And so we chose to do a score that was a lot of sort of light, computer-generated sounds. We didn't choose to do a big orchestra, partly because of our budget, and partly because the story would not have called for that, and it wouldn't have sort of stood up under a big orchestra.
Brass band. Margaret's like, it would be awesome to try it at some point.
We could rescore.
Yeah. I liked you talk to me as a layperson. You had like it was like cupcake or a cake analogy that you use. Could you say that?
I like to make a comparison between cake and frosting. and music for movies, because they really do need to complement one another. When you have a really rich, dense cake like a carrot cake, it requires a certain kind of frosting, and it can't be too light and it can't be too heavy. So it's the same thing with the story. The music needs to match it, and the music needs to complement it and go with it, and it could add kind of an interesting element, but they should go together.
And so can you talk a bit about just how you started preparing
Sure.
and developing the score?
I spent a lot of time with the story initially and just watched and found myself empathizing a lot with the main characters and what their feelings and what their struggles were. And in doing that, I decided that I wanted to feature an instrument for the two main leading ladies. So I chose to underscore Margaret with a cello so that it would bring out sort of her emotional trappedness.
Yeah.
And you know, with Josephine and her bohemianness, I chose the accordion just as, you know, kind of a fun, wild color.
Yeah.
So in addition to using instruments to bring out the ladies' characteristics, we decided that it would be a great idea to honor the relationships within the movie too. So there was a theme that I created for Margaret and Matthew. There was a theme for the two sisters, which also ended up serving as the parents' theme.
For Josephine and Hannah, though, you had two themes for them, right?
There was a richness to their relationship. They had really, really happy, fun game-playing moments, and then they had moments where they were a lot more serious.
Yeah. And then we actually used that again when Margaret brings the comforters in to kind of tie her now into their
Right.
relationship.
Right. Into
That
the
too.
serious moment of that.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you.
Yay. Thank you.
Guys. Bye.